Hey guys, welcome to or welcome back to my channel, FIDGET DIYs, where I do home decor on a budget. I post new content every week and you can connect with me on Facebook or Instagram. Today's video is going to be part of the Fall Leaves collaboration hosted by Brenda from Rustic and Lace DIY and co-hosted this month by Tiffany from Simply Blessed Crafts. The links to their channels as well as the playlist link will be in my description box. All that being said, let's fidget! Alright guys, for this first one, I got one of those octagonal mirrors from the Dollar Tree. And I want to say the frames are still $1.25 actually. And I taped a piece of paper over that so you don't have to watch my craft face, is what I call it. I look so crazy when I'm crafting, no joke. And now I've got one of the window clings, also still $1.25 at the Dollar Tree. And I cut out what I'm going to use for this. And now I've got apple barrel in chestnut and white combined with like a 2-to-1 ratio. I'm going to paint the entire frame with 2 coats of that. Now I've got this window cling. I'm going to put that in the middle. I'm just going to eyeball it. And I'm going to push it down with my finger as best as I can. And there were a couple of little bubbles left, so I got my Cricut scraper and I went over that. Be really gentle or you'll tear the window cling. Because, yeah, ask me how I know. After I get that on there pretty well, I'm going to go back to the frame, and that dried up, so I'm going to use some Waverly white paint, chalk paint, and I'm going to do a pretty heavy dry brush on the whole thing. Now I've got this galvanized sign I got at Dollar Tree, and they have right now at my Dollar Tree 4 for $1 galvanized stuff, so you know your girl bought like 3 bags of stuff. And here I've got the stand from that galvanized sign and 4 Jenga blocks, and I'm going to put those together as you see me doing right here. That's going to be my stand for that frame. I'm going to come behind that and hot glue a bunch of this packing foam. Not a bunch of it, like a little square of it. Goodness. I hot glued that to the back of the frame, and now I'm going to hot glue the bottom of that and put, like, it's going to melt a little bit, so it's going to give just enough for me to push my frame back, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I set it on there at a lean so I can put some florals in there. I've got leaves from Dollar Tree, those pit berries from Dollar Tree, and I think the little white flowers that I use are from Walmart. And I'm just poking those into that packing foam, putting them where I like them. After I get finished with the florals, what did I do? Oh, I'm messing with that pit berry, I'm sorry. Then I put the pumpkins on. Woo-wee. I put one at the bottom, and I put one slightly above itself, and they're wired, so it went into that foam, and I didn't really have to mess with any glue for that. And here it is. I think this turned out super cute. And I just love that let's jump in the leaves. Like, I know as kids growing up, we would always do that. Just jump into Dad's big pile of leaves. Anyway, y'all let me know. What do you think of this one? This one was really fun to make. I got that small little wooden sign from the bins in my town. And I'm just going to cover the front of that with some soft green by Apple Barrel. And I did 2 coats of that to cover the graphic that was on there. And here I've got some crepe paper fall leaves. And I'm going to put some Mod Podge on the front and backs of these, just pretty much soaking them. And I did that to all the leaves there. Once I finished the Mod Podge, I took this window cling from that same set I just used. It's Thankful, Grateful, Blessed. And I used my Cricut tool with that one as well to get out any bump or bubbles. Now I've got this floral wire, and I'm going to pull a pretty long piece. I guess I did about 10 inches. Then I left about 2 inches sticking straight up and wrapped that around my marker to make kind of a little spring. And I'm going to use some hot glue and masking tape. Or not masking tape, my bad. I'm used to masking tape. This clear tape that I'm using to make this springy thing stick to the leaf. And it worked. It works really well, actually. Now, on the back of the sign that I use, I'm using hot glue and this time masking tape. And I had curled the bottom of those wires into a little loop to make them stick better to the back of that. And I just put them all in there. Now I've got this Spanish moss, and I'm going to put a little chunk of that on the top of the little sign thing. I got this gourd and little piece of plastic thing. I got those off of a pumpkin from the Dollar Tree. I just yanked it off the top. And here I'm just putting those in the top middle of the sign just to give it a cute little accent to it. And I believe I trimmed off some of that Spanish moss. I don't know if I show it, but I'm still adding the little floral pieces. Oh, and here it is. I love this one. It was so fun, and it's super cute. And my cat loves it. They bounce around, and it's really neat. Let me know what you guys think of this one. Is it something you might recreate? This one was really fun too. I got these two leaf things from the Dollar Tree, and I want to say those were $1.50. The seasonal decor went up. Oh well, it's still cheaper than some places. So I took all of the bows off of those leaves, and I've got this little, I say hand towel, but they called it like a napkin. I don't know. It was from Dollar Tree as well. There was like only one of them, and I snagged it. It's got little hedgehogs and mushrooms, and I love it. And I'm just placing that on there to get all of the design that I want contained into that small section in the middle of the leaves, if that makes sense. So I'm going to Mod Podge that small leaf in the middle with a good amount of Mod Podge, and I let it dry, which gave me the freedom to move that pattern around so I can get them pretty straight. And I'm going to use the heat method, and I'm going to use my iron and some parchment paper and go over the top of that, adhering that to the wooden piece. And I did that to both of the leaves, and now I'm going behind myself and checking to see if I need to fix any little corners or anything. And I did. I needed to put a couple little dots of Mod Podge on there. So I did that and got that to adhere, and once everything was dry and ready to go, I used my X-Acto knife and carefully went along the edge of that, because I didn't want to like scratch the leaf behind it, because you know that wood scratches up really good, so, or really easy. And I tried burning the sides to get rid of all of the fraying that was left behind, and that didn't work. So then I took my Mod Podge and I tried Mod Podging the little strings on the side down, like to the edge of that. You know what I'm talking about. I tried to get it smooth around the edges. And after I did that, I came in with the same paint color that I used in the first DIY. This is a combination of chestnut and white by Apple Barrel. And I did a 2-to-1 ratio. Now here I'm just taking some white by Waverly, and I'm just going to do a dry brush to the sides of my leaf. And I didn't do it real heavy on these, but I still, yeah, I'm a dry brush fiend, y'all. I love to dry brush things and distress things. Do y'all like doing that? Anyway, let me know in the comments. And here I decided I'm going to take some twine, and I'm going to wrap around the whole small leaf in the center of that design. And I don't know, I kept getting aggravated because the twine started wrapping up all crazy. Anyway, here I've got these two pieces of raw edge rounds, and I'm going to dry brush those a little bit as well. And once I'm finished dry brushing just the sides of those, I used my hot glue, my wood glue hot glue, and put that on the front of the leaf, and I measured to make sure I got it in the center. And I did that with both of those wood rounds. And to make those more sturdy, I took one of the tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree, and I stood it up and hot glued that to the sign and to the wood rounds so that it would, you know, it would hold something better. I'm not going to put a whole lot on these, so I wasn't too worried about it. And here, if y'all can follow along and see what I'm doing, I wrapped my, okay, I'm not going to tell you. You can just slow it down and see it if you really want to. I made a finger bow that I'm going to use. I made 2 of them, actually. And I'm going to use one on each of those leaves where that little hole on the bottom is, where the hanger was. And, yeah, I got to get that off my finger. And I'm going to fluff that out. And like I said, I'm going to add it to the bottoms of these sconces. That's a funny word, isn't it? Sconces. Anywho, and I added a couple of little backs to these things as well with just some hot glue masking tape and twine. And here we go. I added a couple little generic little Dollar Tree tea lights to the top of this just for showing y'all how it looks. You can put any kind of candle on the top of these. Just, I don't know about the weight. I would go with, you know, one of the plastic tea lights versus a glass candle or something. Alright, I saved my personal favorite for last. Here I've got some leaves that I pulled from a garland. I got it a few years ago at Hobby Lobby, and they're just ready to be used for something else. I pulled the plastic parts off of those leaves, and I made a nice little stack of them. I made a couple extra than what I needed. And here I've got a piece of mat board from a frame that I got at the thrift store for $2. And I'm going to put 2 coats of Nutmeg Brown by Apple Barrel on that mat board. And here's the backing to that frame. And I'm going to put a layer of Mod Podge on that and let it dry. Now I've got this craft paper that I got from a book they sell at the Dollar General. I like working with the paper, and most of the pieces are really pretty. And here I'm just centering it. And I'm using my iron and a piece of parchment paper. And I'm going to go over that to get it to adhere to the backing. And I dry brushed the mat board with some Waverly white chalk paint. I didn't show that, but I got a little heavy with it again. So I took some more of that nutmeg brown and brushed back some of that dry brushing. Then I came through with a pretty thick layer of the Mod Podge around that mat board and let it dry, and I stacked my leaves around the perimeter of that mat board. And I did have to go through and pull the little edges of the leaves that overlapped back and add a little Mod Podge, and then I let that dry and went back over it with my iron. And then I did a solid coat of the Mod Podge on the whole thing just to seal it in and make sure all of the edges were adhered down. And here, I'm going to take my ruler against the outer edge of that mat board and cut away the extra of the leaves. And I'm leaving the center part with those leaves overlapping because that's where I'm going to put my words, and I think it looks cute. Now here, I've got the Walmart stencil, and I'm kind of eyeballing where I'm putting my words and how far apart they need to be. And I erased and drew and erased and drew until I was happy with the spacing. And here I've got the frame to this piece, and I'm cleaning it with some rubbing alcohol. And I wanted to use some paint, or so I thought. So I tried Truffle by Waverly, and I did a little section of it and decided I just did not like that at all. So I kept that kind of mahogany brown of the frame and just went over it with a heavy brushing of the Waverly regular white chalk paint, and I did that on the front, the back, the insides, the whole thing. Now I'm going to come through with my satin Mod Podge, and I just wanted to seal that dry brushing in, so I did a layer of that. And I cleaned the glass, put it onto the front of this ever so gently, and I put the original frame and stuff back together, and here it is. Fall for Jesus. He never leaves. And I feel like that 100%, y'all. I love that he's so faithful to me in my times of need and trouble. I just pray about it and he answers. Y'all let me know what you think about the project down in the comments. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I hope you'll subscribe to the channel if you haven't, like the video if you liked it, and share with your friends so we can continue to grow the community. And it really helps my channel. A hug to all my subscribers. Y'all have a blessed one. I'll see you in the next one.